first deck we are dealing with is the Nelly one. Getting hot in here
Blame
again.
game.
Blame game. That's right. All right. So first off, this is the. Why don't you say what the commander is again, and then tell us where you want to go with this, or what do you want to cut out of this?
So basically, the main guy that we're going to be talking about is Nelly Borka, Impulsive Accuser, 2 in a red and white, 2/4 vigilance. Whenever she attacks, suspect target creature and goad all suspected creatures. And so suspected creatures, they gain menace but can't block. And then whenever one or more creatures an opponent controls deal damage to another an opponent, you and that opponent get to draw a card that dealt the damage, not being dealt damage, dealing the damage. You and them get to draw a card. And so kind of where this is like this deck is trying to control people not attacking you and maybe incentivizing attacking other people. That's kind of what's going on a little bit. And I don't like any of those cards. Like there are so many of them that are just bad.
Mm-hmm.
Like so I like goad. You do too.
I love
I think
goad a lot. Yeah.
the problem with goading is at the end of the game, you can't, like, goading doesn't do anything.
1v1.
It forces them to attack you.
Yep.
That's no fun. And so, then the people, since there are cards, we can talk about the first one that I want to cut, like Orzhov Advocist. It should be right there near the top, but it's 3 mana, and then everybody gets to put counters on their creatures, and if they do, they can't attack you. And that is 1 down.
There we go.
And at the end, they just have a huge creature because they've been putting counters on their
after
creature,
it's down to the just you
and then
two.
they just go, I'm not going to put counters on it, and they beat the shit out of you. You know what I mean? And so it's not a card that I like. I plan on cutting that, and I plan on more focusing on like having everybody draw and having a couple of benefits like that. So when everybody's drawing more, they're able to cast more spells, and so making the hit card from this, which is Trouble in Pairs, do even more work. So if they're drawing a second card, you get to draw a third card, and they get to play more spells because they have more cards in their hand. You're drawing more cards, and you're talking about like Smuggler's Share, Smothering Tithe, and we'll get to that kind of stuff. But so we want to cut Orzhov Advocist. I cut 10 cards.
Okay.
Another one is Ancient Stone Idol, which is the big creature. I'm gonna stick with creatures. Yeah.
Okay.
It's just a big creature. It's not really playing into your deal. You're trying to have people not attack you, and then but you're not forcing everybody's creatures to attack.
Mm-hmm.
And so what's the benefit of having a 10 mana creature reduced if they're kind of attacking with 1 or 2, 3 goaded creatures? Like, you're not going to pay 7 mana for a 12/12. Like, you want more attacking things, right?
I think this is better if you're on the other side where you're attacking with multiple creatures, like tokens. Like, then you're able to just pop this out easily.
Well, and this is there's the one card that they have in here that I really liked is Disrupt Decorum, and it goads everybody, and so it's forcing everybody to attack with a lot of creatures. But they didn't add in 2 or 3 others that goad everybody, and they have to attack that's what would make this good, and they didn't. The other 2 that I'm going to cut is Brash Taunter and Boros Reckoner.
What? Brash Taunter is one of your favorites.
Right. This ain't that deck. This is where it's really weirdly put together. They're like, and maybe it's working with the Advocates that I was talking about. Like, they're just going to beat the shit out of you with a huge creature, and if you have
this out, then
Brash Taunter sitting out, it's good. But that's it. It's not.
But if
really,
you're planning that, then there should be a stuffy doll with it. Because if that's what you're planning on, you only have one of them in. It doesn't make any sense. So you want a stuffy doll instead of Boros Reckoner. You have no way of really dealing more damage other than in combat in this deck. Mm-hmm.
And so to me, they don't fit this deck specifically, and the way I moved away from it even less so.
Okay.
Let's see, what's another creature? And then Gideon's Sacrifice. I like this card a lot too. That's an instant that redirects all the damage to a creature. Goes really well in with Brash Tantra as well, but since I plan on cutting those, might as well cut this one as well. But also, again, these are all late game cards in this deck, because if you're controlling combat with goading, they're not attacking you.
Mm-hmm.
And so, like, what are you doing? You're waiting on Brash Tanner, Gideon's Sacrifice. How many cards are you going to hold up in your hand for a late game gotcha?
Right.
Like, all you have to do is have Deflecting Swat in your hand. You got that going on. You don't need the setup of what they're trying to do. I cut a Plains. I cut Seal of Cleansing, which is like an enchantment. That part doesn't really matter. Savine's Reclamation.
Which one is Savine's Reclamation?
It's a sorcery that brings a permanent of 3 or less into play, and then it has flashback as well.
Okay.
I don't really see what it's doing. I think it's a good value card. I was thinking that maybe they're bringing back their auras that are giving goading. I like the goading. I would just rather have more goading.
Right. If you're a goad deck, you need as much goad as you get.
One creature.
Yep.
And then Darien, King of Keldor, which is a creature that whenever you're dealt damage, create 1/1s to kind of beat backface. And again, that's a late card in this deck.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's kind of like it's competing against Sun Titan, which again, it's an awkward deck.
Right.
All right.
Yep.
And I'm just trying to clean it up, and there's only so much you can do with $20.
So I
would go away from that kind of stuff.
So that was all your cuts, right? At this point?
Yeah, those are my cuts.
Okay.
That should be 10 of them.
All right. So now we get
Anya, Merciless Angel. Cut it. Doesn't matter.
Okay.
Ads. Go over to Moxfield. We got stuff there. Let's have some fun. Bold War Heavyweights.
I think this is the second time you put this in a deck recently, haven't you? Yeah. You like these guys. You like these guys.
I think it's great. So what it is, it's 4 mana, 8/8 trample. And then when it comes into play, all your opponents get to go and search for a creature and put it directly into play.
It's so dangerous, but I see what you're doing, because then you're going to goad it. And
right,
then they're going to
get to goad whatever huge monstrosity that they may go and get. And if they don't go get something huge, you got an 8/8 trampler.
That's a good point.
And then what are they going to do about that? So I think, to me, it's a fun ass card. And I'm telling you to go play fun cards.
Yeah.
Next one, Champions of Minas Tirith. 6 mana from Lords of the Rings. It is 4/6, and then when it ETBs, you become the Monarch. And then at the beginning of combat on each opponent's turn, if you're the Monarch, the opponent may pay X, which is X is the number of cards in their hand. If they don't, they can't attack you this combat.
God, I didn't realize that card even existed. I mean, I got all the Lord of the Rings stuff. That's a good card. I like that. I mean, it's 6. It's a lot to come out, but right away,
But I'd rather have this than Darien.
Right.
That's creating a bunch of those tokens. This is basically giving you
draw a card.
You're forcing other people to draw cards anyway. So as they're drawing more cards, they have to make that choice of like paying mana to be able to attack you to gain that Monarch.
Well, I mean, even
I think this is a much more interesting card here.
Well, it almost sets it up that they don't attack you at all, because it hits that first person unless they don't have a card in their hand and they have enough to attack you with. They have to decide, do I want to cast anything from my hand so I can attack this person, or cast anything, I should say.
But they're spending mana either way.
That's what I'm saying. To be able to attack, they got to pay the mana to be able to attack. I like that card a lot. I might put that in more decks. I like it. Okay.
That's a cool one. Deep Gnome Terramancer is the other one. That's just red-white. It's probably one of the best cards there are.
You mean just white? The other one's red-white.
Well, I mean, but Deep Gnome Terramancer. I'm saying in a red-white deck.
Oh, okay. I thought you were saying it's red-white. I'm like, no, it's the other one that's red-white.
Yeah. But it's a great card to go and get. some planes for. Next one is Duger Hedge Mage.
I like this one.
It's an ETB creature. If you have two planes, you get to destroy an enchantment, and if you have 2 mountains, you get to destroy an artifact. I like this, kind of swapping it for Sealed Cleansing. You can, and then the other thing is there are ETB creatures here, and so you can have the next 2, Eerie Interlude and Ephemerate, that are blink, protection, adding more value into your ETB stuff. Eerie Interlude is just targeting all of your creatures to bounce them until end of turn. Same Ephemerate is just one of them, and just reusing those ETB along with like blocking or trying to get around some type of removal. I think both of those would fit really well in this deck. And then some of that goading / forcing people to attack. Bomiku, the low blood, and this is what I was talking about. Like, they didn't have stuff that forced people to attack. They just had like, here's a goad aura, here's another, like, goad that one creature. And it's so fucking slow that by the end of the game, they have, let's say they have 5 creatures and you're able to goad 1 or 2 of them. Like, you're not really controlling the board presence, so might as well force it a little bit more, in my mind. And Fumiko, the low blood, forces people to attack all your opponents. You don't have to, so you can keep your blockers back. And then Life of the Party is just a really cool card.
Yeah, I like that card a lot.
But 4 mana, everybody gets to make a token of it, and it's first strike, trample, haste. It's an 0/1 if it's not attacking, and if it is attacking, it gets +X/+O for each creature that you control, and your opponent's tokens are goaded. So if they have a lot of creatures, it gets big. Taunt from the Rampart. All your opponent's creatures are goaded, and those creatures can't block. So a lot of damage going on there.
Yep, that's a great card.
And then War's Toll, which is a 4 mana enchantment. Whenever an opponent taps a land, tap all their land, and then if they attack with a creature, they have to attack with all the creatures. And so that works a lot more with that individualistic goading, because then it forces all of their creatures. If you goad 1, they have to attack with everything.
Right.
And so that's that part of just trying to make people attack. If you're trying to control combat, that's what you're doing. And I felt like that's kind of what they were doing, but they did a bad job.
So
but that's why we're souping it up.
You have 10 total cards in this. What was your budget? What did you get to for the
budget
total
came
cost?
out to $18 on the nuts.
Ooh, look at that. $18 on the nuts. All right, now we move into the
Mr. Unlimited.
Yes, Russell Wilson. He is awful, but that's why it works perfect here. We have 8 cards in this section. What are the 8 cards? If you had an unlimited budget, what would you add into this deck?
The new Aurelia is going to be able to draw you cards when you have 3 3 attacking creatures. Yeah. Bothersome Quasit. But basically, goaded creatures can't block, and that's the big thing. Whenever you cast a non-creature spell, also goad.
Yep, I like that card.
Target a creature.
Oh, look at these
obviously,
guys.
Docksides is great ramp here. Esper Sentinel, again. If people are playing more spells because they're drawing more cards, you're going to draw more cards along with it.
Look at you putting more Fable the Mirror Breaker in decks.
Yeah. Well, the nice thing is like I was saying, this is a little bit of an ETB themed in there. And so when you can copy the Duger Hedge Mage, or the Sun Titan,
when
or
you're talking
just
about
extra value out of there.
The flip side of it is what you're saying with
yes.
Yep.
And so like the whole thing is good, because we know that the
first
2/2 that makes treasures and the discard 2 draw 2 is really good as well. Flumph, good for if it's dealt damage, you're drawing a card, they're drawing a card. Very on theme for having people draw more cards.
Oh, I love Master of Ceremonies.
Right.
I like this card.
Master of Ceremonies has been good. It's that other one, like you are kind of helping people. If they want a creature token, they have a creature token. If they want a treasure, you get a treasure. And if they want to draw a card, you get to draw a card. So pretty on theme there. Felt like it's good. And also just like the creatures add to the goading and more stuff. And Smothering Tithe. You're going to get so many treasures off of this when everybody else is drawing more.
That's a good point. That's a good point. All right. So that is the budget upgrades for, what was this one? What was this deck again? It was
Blame Game.